Now, as in 2020, a steep decline in global crude oil prices triggered the global pandemic, completely wiped out Swift subsidy via significantly lowered landing costs, paving the way for a reduction in the price of pump for PMS in mid-March and paved way for talks of deregulation. Now, since the increase in the global price of crude oil, there have been expectations that the retail pump price of fuel will rise following an increase in the landing cost of petrol and claims of full deregulation of the sector by the government. From an average of 143 naira 60 kobo per litre in December, the landing cost of petrol rose to 231 naira 98 kobo per litre on June 16 this year, on the back of the rallying of global oil prices and the depreciation of the naira against the dollar. Although the pump price of the products remain unchanged, this seems that the petrol subsidy re-emerged earlier this year as the government did not allow the pump price of the product to reflect the significant price or rise in oil prices, and the sector had not been fully deregulated. As long as the price of crude oil continues to rise and the pump price of petrol remains the same in Nigeria, analysts are of the view that subsidy will continue to increase, and this will lead to increase in petrol smuggling and, of course, other issues that have to do with this large amount of money at this time where government continues to grapple with revenue challenge. To discuss this and more, I have an oil and gas industry consultant. He's joining me via Skype from Abuja, Mr. Ademola Adigun. Thank you very much, Mr. Adigun. Good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, Mr. Adigun, I'm going to start this way. At the time when the price of crude was down, we heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that, well, we had pushed subsidy on the other side. But eventually, the price of crude is looking good now, hitting about $75, though some are saying we could hit $100. We don't know if that will happen anytime soon. And the price of PMS also continues to be on the high side. How do you tally these reports side by side?
Thank you for the question. It's ironic. Today, diesel is now 280. Diesel was 250 last week. Diesel and petrol are both derivatives of crude. So obviously, because this is regulated, diesel price rises with the price of crude and changes as crude prices and FX values change. Now with petrol, there's an artificial attempt to keep it on the lower side. Two questions you've asked is, are we deregulated? No, we have not. There's a subsidy, a significant amount of money. Landing cost is to 31.6. Can we sustain this? No, we can't. There are too many challenges to what the environment is right now. The key thing is this: we are not gaining anything from rising oil prices. We're losing because we have a subsidy regime in place. We're losing because we have an artificial FX regime in place, and nobody's benefiting anything except the fact that people think they're buying fuel at lower prices. But there's also the context of inflation, which is very high in the country now, and the fact that food prices are very soared. Increasing petrol prices will lead to a direct increase in transport prices, which will again increase the price of goods, which again lead to inflation again. So it's a dilemma for anybody in government to make a decision on what to do.
Now, we are seeing a situation whereby the NNPC a few months ago, zero allocation to FEC, that was what happened, and they came out to say this would continue. And even with figures we've seen now, for the month of June, 114.2 billion naira will be deducted from all revenue to sort out this issue of under-recovery. Mr. Adigun, let's talk about sustainability. This is a lot of money.
Like I said earlier on, NNPC hasn't done anything bad. NNPC can do it better than they can do. Under the law, they are forced to comply with government directives. The government says we want to keep subsidy on. Nothing NNPC can do. Again, NNPC is an ongoing concern. It has to, in a way, protect itself. So if NNPC uses remittances from crude to balance shortfall in mitigating supply, then there's a challenge. There are things that I think people are not taking account about. Right now, we imported about 101 million liters of petrol in the month of May. In the month of May, 101 million liters. We don't consume more than 1 million liters. We consume averagely about 45 to 46 at peak and normally about 40. Now that means that we're spending Nigerians' money and Nigerians' future subsidizing not only Nigeria, but also our neighbors. Because to ensure that Nigeria has enough petrol, what NNPC is doing is over importing. And so there's a lot of smuggling going on. Togo is happy, the Republic of Benin is happy, Nigeria is partially happy because we have our prices are lower than the prices. Now you talk about sustainability. The government can try to sustain anything they want to sustain and damage other things. So it's funny. We borrow money to pay salaries, we borrow money to find money for capital expenditures. Yet we're subsidizing something we should subsidize. So we're losing both ways. We're living in an economy where you can't fund what you need to fund, but yet you don't mind funding other things you shouldn't fund. And because again, there's pain to be made. So it's not sustainable, it's not the best thing to be done. The advisory by the Economic Advisory Committee was to remove subsidy. That was given to Buhari about 2 months ago. I think everybody has told him in every time. But the man doesn't believe in remove subsidy. He thinks tax something. He said as much during his broadcast on Arise TV. So we have a dilemma in our hands. We have a dilemma that's killing the economy, killing the country, putting pressure on our foreign exchange, and putting pressure on all of us. But then we also have a dilemma of people who are already in poverty, who will be shifted more into poverty if things change. So it's a dilemma of governance. But again, sustainable, nobody can afford it. A lot of states can't make salary payments. And that's probably why the Governors Forum came up with their pricing formula. I don't know how they got that pricing formula. I don't know how they got to 360 something, because the planning cost is 231. Why are they asking government petrol at 3 something? But maybe they have their own experts, which I don't know about. But again, we're in a mess. We're in a real mess.
And continue this conversation. It's your business, Nigeria. Don't go away. We'll be back, and Mr. Adigun will be here for us to talk more about deregulation and what this means for Nigerians. Don't go away. It's your business, Nigeria. I still have oil and gas consultant Mr. Ademola Adigun via Skype. Now, Mr. Adigun, it seems like movement of our petroleum products outside the shores of Nigeria now looks like a very, very, very good business. When we look at countries, neighboring countries around, they are selling fuel for more than $1 in some countries. So how can we check this act? Because lately the NNPC came together with the EFCC, NCDC, and other security agencies to check this ugly trend. What do you think can be done so that we really know what we consume daily?
It's not very hard to answer that question because there's historical antecedents. Trying to man borders is a waste of time because, again, look, America is trying to man its borders from Mexico for illegal aliens, wherever people say come across. Mexico has been trying to stop narcotic flows and other things. Doesn't work. You can't stop something that has a very high profit. If you take a liter of petrol in Nigeria and you sell it, and you buy it for 163, and you make 248% profit in selling it across the border, you will get through many people. People will take bribes. People will do that. It's the nature of the business. The only way you can stop that is to equate your prices. In 2016, when we improved pump price from 82 to 145, what happened? We started consuming 37 million liters. We went down from 73 to 37 million liters per day. You can verify that evidence because it wasn't profitable to smuggle anymore. It meant that the prices were equal, and you can do that. So unless you reduce the profitability and the value and the gains from taking out a liter of petrol or a tank of petrol, nothing's going to change. You cannot do anything about it. It's just the way it works because the profit margins are enough to cater for everybody. They're enough to take care of everybody in the value chain of blocking the borders. So it's a waste of time having those meetings. NNPC knows this. And that's why NNPC has been advocating for years and now that the government should deregulate and allow price to be equal. And we suffer ourselves too much in the country. We put a lot of pressure on people that is unnecessary. Same way when you ban rice and ban all these things, they're still coming. The only thing that you don't make the money as government. What happens is everybody makes the money. I was listening to the NT this morning when James talked about his acquisition of shares, the proposed acquisition of shares in Dangote. Now they want to become the hub of West Africa. You can't be the hub of West Africa if you do not have equity pricing. Because what will happen is you will be subsidizing economies that are making money from you. So we're subsidizing the economy of Togo, the Republic, Niger, and other borders. That's what we're doing effectively. So we're consuming both today, tomorrow, and the future. So for me, I don't understand how you can stop except you price equality and you ensure that this price is not, the variance is not that high.
Now, staying with deregulation, the argument also on the part of the masses is the price at which PMS will sell if eventually we totally deregulate. Some think that the marketers could even take advantage of Nigerians. That's on a lighter note. The other side is also the fact that some say it could be import driven, which will still make us remain on that high side. Now, trust is also another issue where government needs to trust that the Nigerian government that these monies will be channeled for social infrastructure and other developmental projects. Now, in all of this, what is your position?
Let me start with the last one. Which money? One of the problems government has right now is when government has said they want to regulate, they've always used the word savings. And that word savings is a misnomer. You can only save what you plan to spend. There has been no savings in times we have deregulated or partially regulated. You can't save money you didn't plan to spend. Savings means I want to spend 10 naira, I spent 5 naira. How can you save something you didn't plan for? You can't save money you didn't plan for. So you spent money that's on the budget, not in the anything, and you say you're saving. No, you're not saving anything. You're cutting waste. So government should stop using the word save. There's nothing to save. And that's why there's been no social investment. The second issue you talked about was exploitation. That doesn't happen. Who is exploiting the price of gari and beans and yam now? Beans now is 1,400 naira a motor. It was 350 naira a while ago. But cheaper of yam is now 900 naira. At one point it was 130, 140. Bread, ground square bread was 350, 300, now 650. Nobody is talking about these things. They are products. Nigerians have to get into their head that petrol is a product like every other thing. When I say this, people get angry. What's the reality of it? Everything goes in price because everything is an input of production. So how can you expect it? So diesel now is 280. Diesel is what manufacturers use. Diesel was 163, 172, 189, 210, 220, 227, 236, 250, 280. This is what drives manufacturing. It's what it's. Look, you take petrol from crude. If crude prices are going up, how do you expect that the price of a derivative of it will not go up? It's like a person selling plantain, saying that he will sell the plantain chips at the same price he sold the plantain chips when plantain was the same price. So if you're a cassava seller too, you sell gari at the same price. You can't because you derive your gari from cassava. If cassava prices are going up, gari will go up. So if a country has to, if it's local or imported, the things that constitute the way it's derived from have gone up. Everything else will go by it. So it's not about this. Look, if you take out importing, the differential in price is 13 naira 46 kobo. If you do it locally and assume all factors are efficient. So instead of selling for 283, sell for 253 or 273. So it's not much. The margin is not much, and the government's already taken options and steps to repair the finance. So it's not about whether it's local thing. The where it's derived from has gone higher. When you take good is sold in dollar prices. If you buy crude at $30 and you derive petrol from it, can you derive the same petrol? Can you sell at the same price if crude now becomes $80? So Nigeria should be realistic. You have to think about it as any product in the world. And I've said other things, kerosene, diesel, and other things have gone up because they're all derivatives of petrol. The other thing is about our foreign exchange. If FX and Nigeria keep on devaluing as we have been doing, why do you think that price won't be passed on to the country? Should we stop devaluing? We've spent billions. We spent practically equal amount of subsidizing dollar as we spent subsidizing petrol. What has been the change? What has gained from it? So there's nothing about that. And about people exploiting others. Look, a market person wants to sell. If you have yam, if you don't sell your yam spoils. If you need petrol and you take a loan from the bank and you want to keep prices high, and somebody else sells at lower prices, your petrol is useless. And people start thinking about it in that sense of it. And again, what about the other things that we could have done downstream that we're not doing because we have a market that's officially regulated? What about the multi-modal refineries that can employ people? So I'm saying there are gains and there are losses. But again, you've asked the question of sustainability. You've asked the question about it's a product. Every product has market. Now, if the price of crude crashes and the naira crashes as well, petrol will be cheaper. It's just the way it works. So people should start getting off. Petrol is special. It's like every other product. It goes high and low. I've told you an example of diesel. It's 280 today. It was 250 2 weeks ago. What made it different? Well, diesel crude prices went up.
Now, almost finally, Labour And the federal government are still talking about all of this to know where, we don't know where the pendulum will swing anytime from now. They're talking about the final removal or total deregulation of the sector. But what do you think should be their conversation? Or what do you think they should be talking about at the moment, Mr. Adigun?
Well, Labour is very sincere and government is very sincere. So we have two sincere parties meeting each other. We have people on both sides who are insincere, who are deceiving each other, lying to each other. Both parties know this is not sustainable. Both parties know this is not possible. Both parties are aware that we can't fund it. And both parties choose to lie. I mean, where is the Nigerian people there? Labour will come and say, okay, no, don't do this. What are the options they're presenting? Now, say Labour wants them to pay minimum wage in states. Many states can't generate any money from IGR. Many states are dependent on government revenue. Singular part of the revenue to states comes from sales of crude. So if sales of crude is being locked out by subsidy, how can states get more money to pay salaries that Labour wants? The federal government is there telling Labour they will do this, they will do palliatives. What palliatives? You don't have any money. You're in a mess. You're borrowing money to pay salaries, you're paying money to do infrastructure, you're borrowing money to do everything. You have waste in many areas of the economy. You need to cut it. You're not doing things that you need to do to make decisions that will make the country go forward. So we have a mockery, and it's a game for all of them. So they have meetings discussing nothing. You've been discussing this thing for the past 10 months. Meanwhile, the country is bleeding. The country is about dying. We're sinking more into the mirror every day. I don't know what to think. So what are they discussing? Personally, I think it's a waste of time for Nigerians in their discussions. Nobody's thinking about Nigeria in that discussion. It's about themselves.
Let's wrap up on this note. Just earlier today, the Senate Joint Committee on Petroleum Upstream laid the report for the PIB before the Senate. What do you make? Do you think that this bill might finally scale through this time around?
I hope it does. I am an optimist. I am praying and betting it does. It's about time. This is a bill that's been around for almost 21 years. And in the price we've been wasting our time, other countries have moved forward. Nigeria is not what it was in 20 years ago, where we were only about 3 countries in Africa with crude. Now crude is found everywhere across the continent. And the way Europe is going and America is going, they're looking at green energy. The less time we exploit what's underground and make it so for people and find enough money to save for the future, the less we benefit. People are talking about energy transition. I heard the VP this morning talking about energy transition and about what's necessary to be done to ensure we have a transition plan. I don't think we're thinking about that. If you don't mind what's underground now, maximize the benefit for the future with it, the world lose. So I hope the PID is passed. The PID will increase investments in the upstream, will increase investments in the midstream, will increase investment downstream, create more jobs, and save Nigerians a lot of money. It's about time, and the House senators and the House members are patriotic enough to think about Nigeria first and put away selfish.
Well, indeed, it was really a way to leave it. Okay, Mr. Adigun, let you wrap up. You're making your point. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I mean, for me, it's time for us to do the right thing. Deregulate the sector, let prices find their market prices. Think about ways to cushion inflation. Inflation is real. There's poverty in the country is real. People are facing tough times. Food prices are very high. How you manage that is another thing. I mean, the whole farmer investment scheme that have not gone where it should go. All the money we spent on fertilizers haven't worked properly. Again, liberate Nigerians from the lies of savings from subsidies. There are no savings. They are cutting waste. On the PIB, pass the PIB. Pass the PIB. Pass the PIB. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
All right, it's really great to have you join us on the show today. I must thank you, oil and gas consultant, player in the oil and gas industry, Mr. Ademola Adigun. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.